from selling something that Nepal produces and sends out to selling something that Nepal has and doesn't have to send out, which is tourism. It's such a fragile, it's so fickle, but I find navigating that quite a lot of fun. So it's a quite flat playing field. There are some big players, but they're not so big that they're just lapping up everybody and taking them out of monopolizing the whole thing. No? I think the biggest mistake that we made right at the start was allowing being too complacent and taking it too easy in developing our products. But bigger events are required, and I think we have slowed down a little bit. I think there is, for me, I think we should have the image that we build ourselves, and I think that is a stronger, more sustainable, more long-lasting image. Because these guys, if the business goes down, they'll go away.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Travel Trade Talk on Nepal Traveler. Joining me today is a very interesting person who's doing a lot of very different things, who's in the tourism industry. I want to welcome today on our show Mr. Raj Gyawali, the founder and owner of Socialtours. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, James. We've been talking about this and it's really a pleasure to be here.
We've been planning to do this for some time.
Exactly.
So Raj, maybe to start with, how did it all begin? I mean, I know you did that CSR and you built some schools and then Socialtours.
Yeah.
But were you always inclined towards travel, doing a travel and tour company?
I don't think I actually knew it very well, exactly what I wanted. But, I had studied business and I had just finished from India and I'd come here in the early 90s and I started doing research. Then went into fair trade, did some work with Dukuti. I was the export director there. And then after that, I set up my own company trying to do something on sustainability and trade. I was slightly inclined towards sustainability because that's what I'd studied as well in terms of development and business. So yeah, when, in 98, when I managed to bring this group, when my business partner brought this group to Nepal and we did this trip which had a cost plus component. And we did with Tilganga at that time, one of the top, camp organizers. Conducted a camp. This is what I really felt the power of tourism, that it can actually touch different things. It can make people happy, but at the same time can also do developmental work in the inside. So when the bottom really fell out with the whole Maoist thing that was going on, we had a very big factory supplying H&M in around up to 2001. And after that, when the bottom fell out of the manufacturing industry and the export industry, I said, you know what, maybe the movement is towards doing social good and tourism. So Socialtours. That's how it came.
And you actually brought the student groups. Do you want to speak a little about that? Because you brought the student groups and you used that.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I mean, what had happened was I had this business partner called Tim. And Tim had studied in pretty good schools in the UK. And so his idea was, let's bring the student groups here. And he had done some volunteering in Shermathang in the schools out there, which was at that time one of the top schools in Nepal, the school over there. And the Young Rima school over there was one of the top schools at that time until the Maoists blew it up. And before that, he was volunteering there. So he said, you know what, they need a hostel. So how do we raise funds for it? So he said, okay, I'll bring the school here and we'll give them a fantastic trip, maybe $1,200 or something like that for that trip. But we'll add $200 to it, very transparent. And we'll use that $200 to do an eye camp. First thing was an eye camp. So we did the eye camp in that area with Tilganga. The next time we did it twice. The second time we did it, we did build a hostel for the school kids up there. The Young Rima school is now also still functional. But in the middle, of course, the Maoists had blown it up. So when they did that, that was really, for me, was like, wow, we could do education, we could do health. It's just tourism. And people are all happy to do it, and this is amazing. So for me, it was like a very easy transition from selling something that Nepal produces and sends out to selling something that Nepal has and doesn't have to send out, which is tourism. So that's, and then because of my big inclination in sustainability, I did some research And around 2002, when I started the company, 2001, when I was doing the research, sustainability had just sort of come into the industry. They were talking a lot about responsible tourism at that time, which is something to do with like your personal responsibility towards tourism and companies' responsibility towards tourism. And for me, I was really attracted to that. I said, okay, this is what we're talking about in terms of responsible tourism, right? Where you, as a company, you're responsible. As a traveler, you're responsible when you go to destinations. So let's work on this. So I think in 2002, I'm proud to say, around that time, we'd probably be the only company who had started off with these principles and not taken it on later on. It's not like make money and then do CSR, but start with it. So everything that we had designed, everything that I had designed in the company was based on values, was based on huge systems that came out of the values, so, and then taking it forward from there. So, and from then on, I think everything has been a learning curve. So I had to learn the whole tourism thing right from start, So I was a newbie at that time. And that was, I'm still enjoying the journey because, it's transitioning from responsible tourism to, more transformational tourism to now green tourism to now we're talking about regenerative tourism, So all of that is all these transitions that are happening.
And how has that journey been for almost 2 decades of Socialtours? And you were there during all the time, challenges.
Oh, well, actually, 3 years I was in Ghana. I was remote controlling the company from Ghana, technically speaking, but still in the company, yeah. The challenges in Nepali tourism are always there. We have crises that come over and over again. Mini crises like a small, flooding or something like that, to major crises like the earthquake or the pandemic. And that is always influencing us. Even today, the Gaza war is affecting us. The Ukraine war is affecting us. The Pakistan-India conflict affected us. So tourism is such a fragile, so fickle. But I find navigating that quite a lot of fun. But also thankfully, I'm in a good position, I like to say, because we've kept the company small. It's very boutique, so it doesn't have big reliance on, big funding, or it doesn't have bank loans to deal with, so all of that. Yeah, we have not made a big thing on top. And I think it all flows from that first 2002 value system that we created, where we said we'll not vertically integrate. So as a tour operator, we'll only focus on doing tour operation. We'll not have vehicles. We'll not have hotels. We'll not have, we'll not have flight, choppers of our own. We'll not have anything of our own. No, we'll only use others. It gave us that flexibility to actually even take on these mini crises quite easily. So I think that has been a big advantage. And for me, I feel like I never stop learning. Tourism is such a vast field, it has so many little layers everywhere. So yeah, I'm quite enjoying the journey all the time, I think, really. And the crises actually also keep you going. There were big things that we did during the earthquake, during the pandemic, to actually try and do recovery campaigns and stuff like that. And that was really a joy to do, really a joy.
When you look at the travel and tour companies, that sector in Nepal, how do you see it? Some people say there are just too many players and perhaps a little less on the value systems.
I think there is pros and cons, I would say, If you look at countries like Turkey, or you look at in the whole of Europe or North America, you've got very big players taking 80% of the business, and then 20% is left for the riffraff. And every time a new company comes up, the big one can just buy them off and kill them. That does not exist in Nepal, thankfully, until now. So it's a quite flat playing field. There are some big players, but they're not so big that they're just lapping up everybody and, taking them out of monopolizing the whole thing. And I think this allows for a lot of innovation. It allows for a lot of resilience, a lot of small boutique companies to come up. So the hope is still there. The entry used to be more complicated, but now it's easier, actually, to tell you the truth. There is some money involved, but it's actually easier than before, where you had to have a certain number of manpower. It doesn't really exist anymore. So I see that as a big advantage. Yes, the downside of it is that, of course, if you have got more companies, there's there's more adulteration in quality, And to try and get everybody to start thinking in the same direction, or trying to get the brand image of Nepal together, like a lifetime experience, it doesn't exist, So you get people who come in who just want to be there for the sake of the fact that they've seen that, it's quick money, or they think it is easy money. So that tends to happen, no? But I personally find the Nepali situation to be an advantage more than a curse, because it allows for that to happen. And if we can just bring it all together, within that, it actually makes a very, very steady, flat playing field so that more and more players can get involved, which is very good for the industry.
And talking about the tours and the packages, the uniqueness that we can offer, do you think that perhaps Nepal needs to move beyond just we've always done mountains, we've always done the same Chitwan Pokhara, Kathmandu. So, is that an area where you see social tours and other organizations like yours?
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot agree more. I think the biggest mistake that we made right at the start was allowing just, being too complacent and taking it too easy in developing our products. So whatever sold, we just sold. So Everest, of course, will sell because it's, seventh wonder of the world and eighth wonder, whatever you can call it. But, so it is iconic. So it would sell anyways. Annapurna is developed because of the ACAP project. It was done on its own, and then of course now slowly Manaslu is developing, Kanchenjunga has never developed, to tell you the truth. Now slowly it is moving. So all of these things, and then Chitwan developed because, of the Tiger Tops, effort that had come in on wildlife tourism. And Pokhara just became a hub where people had to go through, right? And so we just found the easy way out. We didn't sit there developing products. We didn't do anything. Whatever sold, we just sold, no? And I think this is a drawback that we have. It's still continuing right now. Whereas Nepal, of course, has got this asset, which is like crazy from, 52 meters to the top of the world. And all the country is kind of similar. You've got the flat, you've got the middle, you've got the high, And so literally the whole of the country can be developed. There's everywhere you turn, there is a product that is hanging out there. It just requires development work, right? So I see it almost endless. I remember this thing from Anil, actually. He did a little pep talk recently where he said, if you fly over Doha, you only see desert until you reach Doha, right? In Qatar. Whereas here, everywhere it's different. You see, you can fly and you can see everything. And each of them is a tourism product that is possible, right? So I see this as a treasure trove for making products with a huge advantage that Nepalese ourselves are inherently hospitable. So we've got the biggest assets of tourism, which is the manpower, which is already there. It just needs to be just polished a little bit and it's ready to go. Okay? So yeah, Nepal, definitely. There's so many products.
Do you think that perhaps the tourism board, the authorities, the planners, during the 2020, the Visit Nepal 2020, we had planned, you were also involved, we all worked on that, to plan out 20 lifetime experiences. Has that kind of cooled down a bit, or are we still pushing, different experiences?
I think it has cooled down a little bit. I think it does require some focal big events to actually give that image, because that is what happens in tourism. It gives it a big sort of exposure. Then people realize that ballooning is a big thing here, or ice skating is a big thing, or mountain biking is a big thing. Things that were planned, rafting that was planned. There were some really, really big time events that were planned out there. And I think those things are required. I think we should revive it. I personally think that revival will really help. It did. I think for some of us who are involved in it, it does give us that confidence that we can actually continue on that path, because, at that time there was a government backing also behind, and stuff like that. But I think just to mainstream the whole thing, I think it requires a little bit more of an effort. The advantage of doing something like that would have been that, you would have Lumbini coming up because of ballooning, for example, or, the bigger lakes up in the mountains would have called ice skating. Suddenly people would say, oh, ice skating can be done. Or, they would have said, oh, Karnali, suddenly it would have been worldwide image would have come, it's still important, but it's not that big image that we have been able to create because we haven't had that focus, right? Or, we had planned this mountain biking festival in Mustang, which would have created Mustang as a mecca for mountain biking. That is sort of thing that is kind of important to do. Little movement is happening, but bigger events are required. And I think we have slowed down a little bit. I think there is a requirement to actually bring back that effort, to give it that push.
That impetus has to be given. Also now, the phenomenon in Nepal is suddenly we have a whole lot of branded international chain hotels.
Yeah.
How is that affecting the industry? One thing I hear from the hoteliers is that we are now getting smaller slices of the same pie and the rates are just being affected.
I cannot agree more. So, I've always, professed this thing that, we should always rely on local and make our local the bigger image. But I think the convenience of actually having the branded hotels come in, and the cards that they come in, the loyalty cards that they come in, has become just a convenience. So that, it's easier to say, Hyatt, or it's easier to say the big brands, because it immediately clicks on somebody's mind, and they might have a loyalty card and they might come in, right? But I think this is just the wrong way to go, in my view. Unfortunately, I think we're probably a point of no return. It's going to happen. It's going to happen more and more. It's going to spread in the country. Right now, maybe Kathmandu and Pokhara and Chitwan, but it's going to spread 100%. And that is a bit of a shame, because we're not creating our own brand of hospitality, which is very good, by the way. I mean, the best ones that are done really, really well. And if we could actually ape that and take that forward, it would be a much better effort at proving what sort of a hospitable destination we are, instead of just using the brand and then maybe under delivering, which is going to happen when, like you said, the same pie is just being split, this is the same thing, same problem. It is nothing new. I'm not just saying it out of a whim. I've been and stayed at a Radisson Blu in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and it's a horrible experience. Because it's only a brand. It is not, at the same quality that you would actually find, right? Because they've just taken on the brand. And that is not what we want to do for the country. The brand might lose its image. That's a different issue. But you're losing image as a country. And that you don't want to do. I mean, the most sustainable thing that we can do is to take our own hospitality and take pride in that and make it bigger, no? Because that will it'll stay for a very long time, For us to have an image of a Radisson, or for us to have an image of Marriott, is not the important thing. You see, for me, I think we should have the image that we build ourselves. And I think that is a stronger, more sustainable, more long-lasting image. Because these guys, if the business goes down, they'll go away.
On the other side of it, the brands that have come in say that when we've come into Nepal, we have our brand. We bring in a new clientele. We bring in a new segment. Which, do you think it's actually happening, that we're getting more business travelers, more MICE, more luxury?
I'm not sure about that. I think we do get the convenience of having a loyalty card, that sort of stuff is happening a little bit. But I think even if the loyalty card has been got because you've been in business, you've gone for business to, say, a Marriott a million times, you got a loyalty card. When you come to Nepal, you're not coming for business. Nepal is a country where the business class is the least used. If you look at all the airlines, it's the economy class that is more used. I mean, most countries, business class, cross subsidizes the economy class, but this is the other way around. I also think that MICE, my industry mates will be angry with me when I say this, we're not good at MICE. That's what I really think. If you go to any facility out here, it's not world class. It might be okay, but when it actually functions, we have mic failures, we have got lights going off. This is not how MICE destinations work. This is not how it should work. We've got carpets that have got, stains from a previous party. This is not a MICE destination. I think it is great to do some iconic events here, like going to, base camp to do a minstrel, thing that will really work. And it's good for doing a little bit, but if you can call it MICE, it's not true. So hence, I think all the business guys will decide to go to Thailand, 100%, because Thailand has actually, positioned itself for MICE.
And we also don't have the infrastructure.
We don't have the infrastructure for it. The airport cannot take it. We don't have the planes. We don't have the buses. Yeah, we don't have the hotels for it, to tell you the truth, to actually take that sort of capacity. So I don't know. I think I think we need to actually find our niche even in meetings. But this is not this is not a general niche. I don't think that's right.
So to a large extent, Nepal is seen as a niche adventure destination.
Yeah.
But besides the mountains, have we really exploited? You've talked about rafting, you've talked about mountain biking. Which are the areas that Nepal should look at?
I think we should always call us as an adventure destination. I think we should not shy away from that. There's the first travelers that came into Nepal also came for adventure, and the people who come now are also for adventure. I'm a very strong believer that the concept adventure has grown in the world. It does not encompass only the pure adventure anymore. It's a soft adventure. There's, all these things are adventure. Food is an adventure. Meeting people is an adventure. So I think if we can actually position ourselves in adventure, but find our niche. And our niche is soft to high adventure. And play along with that, along with the food that you eat, along with the people that you meet, the roads that you cross, the toilets that you get into, all our adventure in Nepal. Yeah. So if you can use it like that, then I think we'll be hitting the right niche and people will come because of that. Unfortunately, because of the mountain image that we have actually positioned ourselves on the high adventure zone and not on the medium and the soft adventure. And I think that's a mistake. And to say something else is not, even culture is an adventure actually. Getting in contact with a new culture is an adventure. So if we can position ourselves like that and just say adventure, 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 I think we'll be hitting the nail on the head, really. I would even say the mice is an adventure, to tell you the truth.
As a final question, if you were to advise Nepal Tourism Board or the powers that be in tourism, what are the 1, 2, 3 steps that you would say we should be taking as a destination, as a country?
Yeah, I think there are a few things that we need to do, the way I see it. One is we need to cultivate very strong manpower. We've got very good technical prowess in adventure. I think this is one of the countries in Asia which has the best technical people, from mountaineers to paragliding pilots to rafting guides to, trekking guides. We've got the best. There's no doubt in terms of, per capita also, or in terms of quality. What we don't have is the manpower to sell. So we don't have the right managers, we don't have the right marketeers, we don't have the finance guys, we don't have the IT guys behind it who can actually, target on tourism. There are a lot of other people, but for tourism itself, we don't have. So focus on actually cultivating manpower. So I think that is with the education institutions. So it's not just curricula based, but actually practical based, right? Because what is really required needs to come out. I mean, I always say that how can we have all these branded hotels in this country, but not have one GM that is actually Nepali? Yeah, it's crying shame. No? I mean, how is it possible with 70 years we don't have one good GM that is Nepali? That means we haven't developed the manpower, and that is a real problem. That is one side of it. The other side of it is the government side of it, which is actually trying to, where we need to actually cultivate the provinces. We're a new country. 2017, we started the whole province thing. And the provinces are starving for technical prowess, right? So all the provinces are trying to go for tourism. Everybody knows that tourism is going to be the savior, but they don't have the capacity. So actually helping them on that capacity is really important. So I would really strong believer that Nepal Tourism Board should be a consulting company, to consult the provinces on developing their brand images and taking that forward, because then we'll have a host of products that will come out, and they're not random. They're really well developed, thought about products that will come out, right? And the last advice that I can give, that is to, I think, the whole industry, regardless of the value chains, the government, everything, we need to create one focus. We are too split. I mean, this is a problem in Nepal because we are multicultural, multi-thought, multi-language. We tend to split ourselves into everything, right? And I think that that pointed focus that we need to have is to talk about Nepali, to talk about our hospitality, to talk about adventure, to know what our niche is, right? If you're talking about lifetime experience, we have to guarantee that every trip in Nepal is a lifetime experience, period. So that is a sort of attention to detail that if you can focus on, I think Nepal is not so complicated. I mean, 1.2 million is not a big figure to get everybody focused into one, no? And so long as we can achieve that, I think the rest of it will just flow, The rest of it will just flow.
Thank you so much for taking the time
Absolutely.
and sharing some of your ideas.
That was so much fun. That was so much fun. Thank you so much.